Welcome to Rupture Co, the show where I meet people who actually figured out what they want to do when they grow up. Enjoy! Hello everyone, and welcome on this second episode of, the second season of Rupture Co. This is actually the very first episode in English, so I'm hoping that my broken French accent isn't gonna, ruin the whole experience. I'm today with Liz, or Elizabeth Kensler. Liz, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm really good. Thank you so much for having me here. It's incredible to meet you. And yeah, I'm excited for the conversation.
Yeah, I'm also excited because as you can see if you have the video on, you are in front of the beautiful background. And I'm back after 2 months in South Africa, back in Paris, where it's already, very dark and cold. So it's nice to have you here as well.
Yeah, definitely very different background from this side of the world. So it's fun in that way how we can connect across the world and have these conversations regardless.
So I've done some research before today, of course, to get to know you a bit more and to see what you're doing. And the thing is, you do a lot of stuff. It's hard to summarize someone in just a few seconds. I think it's even harder for you because, you've been a model. You've been a digital nomad for like 10 years. You wrote a book. You've built a community around your lifestyle. You've decided to start coaching people to become nomad through, I think, Deeply Nomad is the name. You've lived in over 40 countries, something like that. So you're like half German and half Peruvian, I think, if that's what I saw. So it's very hard to describe it. So I think the best option would be to ask you, Liz, who are you?
Yeah, as you said, it is a very difficult question to ask a multi-passionate human being that has grown up all over the world to describe herself. But as you just mentioned, I am half German, half Peruvian, grew up in Barcelona. Lover of life, I would say. I'm a multi-passionate human being. I pursue many different endeavors. Recently, this last couple of years, I have become a digital nomad coach and a space holder. So I facilitate workshops and retreats. And previously, I used to be a freelancer working in design, marketing, all things relating to branding. And overall, my life, I've always considered myself an artist, a writer, a poet. As I said earlier, a lover of life. I have lots of different passions. I'm a sucker for nature and the outdoors. I love just moving my body, connecting with people. I love traveling the world. I remember when I was 18, I first went to Australia, and that's the moment I fell in love with solo traveling. And I haven't stopped since. It's been 12 years and counting. And yeah, my digital nomad career of over a decade, I think, is the thing that describes me most, because after so many years, I have figured that who I am is a nomad soul, and that is a person that always wants to learn, change, develop, and connect with the world and myself.
Okay, wow, that's quite a lot, and I can see that through your Instagram account that you're loving it so far. The also other interesting thing is that I think that you're trying to live this lifestyle and trying to go back to a more sedentary lifestyle. So we'll get back to that in a moment. But right now, what I'm interested to know is how did you reach this point in Australia where you were like, okay, I just want to travel and this to be part of my day-to-day life. So what brought you this way? What was your life before? Is this something that you considered?
I grew up traveling. My mom is from Peru. My father is from Germany. My mom and I grew up in Barcelona with my mother. And because my parents were separated from a very young age, I had to travel between Barcelona and Munich from the age of 3 years old onwards. I remember my first intercontinental flight was at 3 months old when I flew from Germany to Peru, to visit my mother's family. So flying and traveling has always been part of my DNA. And so I think I was always destined to become a digital nomad. Did I think I was going to do it to this extent and have my life split up between all continents and have friends all over the world? No, I never thought that I was going to get to this extreme, but it just happened. And I think for me, the catalyzer was truly my trip to Australia. Reason why I went there was because I was 18. I had just finished high school. I didn't know what to study in university, and luckily, I was very encouraged to go explore the world and first of all have a gap year to figure out who I am and what it is that I want to do and want to study. And that's what I did. I went to Australia for a year, enjoyed it a lot, maybe a bit too much, didn't want to go back. But that was a shift for me. And that's when I knew that traveling needed to be part of my life.
And so you went to high school and then you went to Australia. Why Australia specifically? I'm guessing because it's like literally on the opposite side of the world. So that would be like one big argument. But was there any other reason why?
Yeah, literally, it was the other side of the world. I have family in Australia, so my mom's sister lives in Australia, Newcastle. So I had like a sort of like a safe place there as well. I wanted to improve my English. I wanted to go to a place that had nature, and it's very common for German 18-year-olds that have the privilege to do a gap year to go to Australia. So it was really, what I had heard about other people doing it. I had gotten recommended it. So I decided to go on the adventure. I was supposed to go with a friend, but then that trip changed last minute, and I ended up going alone on the journey, and it changed my life really.
So you were freshly out of high school, like 18, 19 years old, I'm guessing, and decided to go on this new lifestyle and make this part of your own identity. So how did your parents take this, this decision?
Yeah, it was very supportive. I mean, my dad was, I think, one of the people that supported me the most to go to Australia and to travel. Looking back, I think he knew why. And, thinking into the future, when I have my own kids one day, I really want them to also explore the world, and find out who they are through travel. So I think that was the best decision that I could have had, that I could have made. And my mom was also supportive, not as much as my dad, but they both really always encouraged me in this journey. Nowadays, after 12 years of traveling, I think both of them want me to find like a more stable ground and feel at home somewhere, and invest in a property for myself and have more of a steady life, because they've obviously witnessed how my psyche has changed over the years through being a digital nomad. But other than that, they still encourage me and want me to be happy in whatever way and form that is.
I'm guessing you made friends in Munich and Barcelona. Making the decision to travel all the time makes it, I think, a bit hard to keep relationship working and rolling all the time. Did this affect your decision?
I mean, I don't know. I was 18. It feels like a decade ago, because it was really so long ago. I think everyone, at the end of the day, it was my journey, and back then I had really good friends in Barcelona, which is where I had grown up in and where I had studied, where I had gone to high school. But I wasn't afraid of leaving that behind to like explore more who I am. And I knew I was going to make new friends in Australia as well, and that new people are going to be part of my journey. So I don't think that ever made me question whether I should travel, like I never felt tied back to home, either because of family or because of friends or because of anything else. I've always been someone who, I don't know, just maybe is looking more towards the future rather than the past. And yeah, I think that's why I never struggled with that. Yeah.
So you mentioned that you were freshly out of high school, didn't really know what you wanted to do with your life in terms of working. So did you go to like a university or something like that while traveling?
Yeah, exactly. So I always mention in interviews that there's two starts of my nomad journey. And I like to differentiate between being a nomad and being a digital nomad, where being a nomad is truly a person that just simply travels, and digital nomadism is people that work while traveling. So I started my nomadic career, or my nomadic journey, better said than career, when I was 18 years old, when I went to Australia. At that time, I didn't have any studies. I, hadn't gone to university. I didn't have a career, but I still went and became a traveler. Then I decided to go back to Europe to study business. So that's what I studied the following 3 years. So from age 19 until like 21, 22 or so, I studied business in Germany. But even while I was studying business, I traveled a lot. I would not spend one semester in the same place. I decided, to do my internship in New York. My Erasmus was in Portugal. So already in those short 3 years, I was always moving around, always in different countries. And when I graduated university, that's when my digital nomad career started. That's when I went to Brazil, and that was the start of it all. And it was around the age of 21, turning 22, more or less. So those are the two kind of like crucial points for me. And I would say Australia happened because I didn't know what the next step was in terms of university. versus Brazil and my digital nomad career happened because I had tried an internship in New York and I had done the office corporate job, and I knew back then that it wasn't for me. And so once I fully graduated from university, I just took a leap. I remember thinking like, why can I not, should I not just take another gap year, you know? And that's what I did. I decided to take a second gap year, decided to book a one-way ticket to Brazil. And my goal, I remember perfectly, was to just get a remote job. I was just like, I'm manifesting a remote job. And surely after, I think it was like a month or month and a half, I got my first remote job, and I've never looked back. My entire career since the age of 21, 22 has been remote.
Wow. So you've been able to start a career right out of school, remotely, which was not something so common like 10 years ago, 20, 12 years ago, on your own. I think that, I mean, that sounds pretty impressive. Is it something that was, I mean, it seems easy. How do you explain that?
I always say everything that I've done in life has been a combination of manifestation, taking action, and also making the right connections. I truly believe that your network is your net worth, and the people that you meet in your life are people that can guide you to places and help you through life and achieve those things that you want to achieve. So I think in my case, the way that I found my first remote job was literally through wanting it, so manifesting it, taking action, and actually like messaging the company that I wanted to work remotely in. And thirdly, having made a meaningful connection with the founder prior to messaging him. And so it all kind of worked out. I really do think back at all the opportunities I've gotten, and it's the combination of that, you know, manifesting it, like really like picture envisioning it, wanting it, taking the courageous action of making that step or sending that message or reaching out to someone or booking something, you know, whatever that action, that required action is. And thirdly, trusting your intuition and like meeting the right people and following those sort of like signs and synchronicities until you reach the point that you want to get to.
So you started doing this. I'm guessing it was already about. You told me that you were a freelancing for. I took the note of that in branding, I think. So was that already kind of part of this job that you had 12 years ago?
This is also another thing, like everything that I am, and I've never shared it like this before, but I really want to, because I think people should know about this. Like, you can be anything and anyone. It's like fake it till you make it, you know? Like, you can learn anything in your life. You can apply those skills that you learn into becoming the next version of yourself. But like, for instance, when I wanted to publish my book, you know, I had been writing poetry for about 8 years before that. So who was to tell me that I wasn't a poet, you know? So I started introducing myself as a poet. And then because I started introducing myself as a poet, the right connections started coming, you know, into my journey. And similar to that, it's about how you present yourself and what type of sort of like light do you want to attract? I don't know if I'm expressing myself correctly, but I hope that you understand.
It is clear, don't worry. And so I'm curious. So you come from this, you leave high school, you get on with this remote job, and everything seems perfect. So how does Germany's Next Top Model fit into this narrative?
Good question. It was also another thing that I just wanted to do, like Germany's Next Top Model. Yeah, and that's the thing. If you really like place your mindset onto a goal, onto something you want to reach, or something you want to become, or something you want to learn, like you can be anything, and you can pretend to be anything that you want until you become that, you know? With Germany's Next Top Model, I mean, I remember growing up watching Germany's Next Top Model. It was like one of the main TV shows that, you know, girls would watch in Germany. And remember just like really looking up to those models and thinking like, oh, one day I want to be one of those models. And I remember for many years, I just let the dream pass. You know, I decided to not go to the castings, even though I could have. But then one year I was just like, you know what, this is the year. I'll just, you know, work out for it. I'll, you know, just do whatever I need to go to the casting, introduce myself, and see what happens after that. And I got it. I got accepted, and yeah, and I was part of the show. I was part of that season, and I had an incredible time, and it really was a life-changing event. It was a big before and after. Lots of opportunities came from that. A big push of my social media career as well. And obviously I have been modeling ever since. So it's definitely another income stream that I have and that I love doing, you know, especially with good clients.
It seems like you still have today like a lot of different activities. So you have like the coaching for all the nomads, you have the modeling, you have the book. How do you pick your battles?
I am a very intuitive person. I think that is one of my greatest gifts in life. And so intuitively, I can feel what is the next thing required for my own personal development and for my life's purpose. And I think that through tackling different projects and being this multi-passionate human being, I'm able to sort of like grow outwards, and I need to be careful about not overwhelming myself, you know, and not deprioritizing important things. But through that growing outwards, I'm able to also learn kind of like interdisciplinary things, right? Like, because I have an experience in sort of one project, those skills that I've acquired can help me to tackle another project and vice versa. So I like to think about it in that way, you know, like the experience with publishing a book and my experience writing poetry and journals can help me in areas of my life that might be, for instance, business related, you know, or there's like so many interjections between the projects that I have, and all of them have in common that they're very creative pursuits. Very sort of like, yeah, and built in passion. I think those are the defining parts of this project.
Let's move a bit back to the whole digital nomad aspect. So while you're doing all of that, you're traveling a lot in many different places. How do you then pick the places you want to go to? I'm guessing this is linked to your next big objective, your next big goal. Maybe writing a book made you go to a specific place. Maybe being a model pushed you to go to a specific country. How do you pick your next destination, basically?
Good question. Intuition. It all falls down to intuition. That's why I feel so blessed to have that sense so developed. And that is the number one skill that I recommend every digital nomad to sharpen when they start this journey, because your intuition will guide you everywhere and to everything in your journey. You know, like when you're out there in a different country, in a different continent, when you don't have anyone that you know, like you can only rely on yourself and that sixth sense, you know, to like know what to do, like what place is safe, what place is unsafe, what place will maybe open up opportunities or not. If I look back at all the places that I've visited over my digital nomad journey, it's either been because I have intuitively felt that it was a place I needed to discover, or because I had connections there. So let's say a really good friend or family, or maybe because there was, something there I wanted to develop further, like a sports or a skill or something like that. That is, I think, my answer. Yeah.
You mentioned that you went to Brazil, you went to Australia, now you're in the Dominican Republic. So it all sounds like a big sunny countries to me. But the thing is, I've seen on your profile on Instagram that you say you should not avoid winter as a digital nomad. So is it something that you applied straight from the beginning, or is it something that you started learning, by experience?
Oh, yeah, no, I learned that through experience and through burnout and through feeling like the constant sun can burn you, like not only literally, but figuratively, you know. It's like we are not made as human beings to live in constant summer. We're not made to be in constant extrovertive energy. And that's something that I always teach my students at Deeply Nomad. It's very tempting to go from summer to summer. It's very tempting to only crave that certain energy, you know, to go to tropical places, to be in constant party mode, because, you know, like when it's summer, there's always parties and there's always people out and socializing and everyone's happy. So it's very addictive. But at the same time, it's important we have rest periods. Now, a winter, I don't define a winter as the season of winter. It can also be a place where it's sunny, but what's important is that you rest, that you take on the energy of winter. The energy of winter is made for you to integrate, to process, to rest, to not socialize, to not be so extroverted, you know, to be by yourself, to have solitude. That is what's important to me. If you want to do a rest period, let's say a winter period in the Dominican Republic by yourself, so be it, you know? But the one thing that I advise against is to have this constant extrovertive chapters going from one summer to the next where you're constantly socializing and being out there and don't have periods of integration. That's what I mean.
That was one of the big takeaways. And so how do you live on a yearly basis this lifestyle? So you mentioned that you burned out because of the sun. So are there specific countries or places that you always go back to? Like for the winter, do you go back to Germany? What's your basically the cycle that you go through?
It has changed a lot over the years. So I often define the nomadic journey as sort of like a cycle that you go on, where depending on at which phase of the cycle you're in, you will have different desires and needs and wants. So for instance, at the very beginning, we as digital nomads often tend to travel very fast. You know, we jump around from place to place. Our goal is to see as much as possible, to meet as many people, to have as many opportunities and yeah, just get to know as many versions of ourselves as possible. But slowly, I think digital nomads will recognize this. There is a desire to sort of slow down a little bit more. So that's when we start entering in the phase of slow madding, okay? And in the slow madding phase, that's when you start having a bigger desire for taking it a bit slower, connecting deeper with communities, maybe spending more time in places like 2 or 3 months in one place. And it just changes, you know, like your relationship to travel changes. Then when you continue going in this nomadic cycle, that's when you start entering the phase of basing, so nomadic basing. So that's when you have already found your favorite places around the world. You know, let's say your 3-4 favorite picks, the places that you feel the greatest, the places where you can connect the deepest with communities there. And you start rotating between those spaces. And that's a phase that can last many years. You know, I was, let's say, 5 years in the basing phase where I would have 5 of my bases around the world, and I literally just rotated between them on a like I visited all the places in 1 year, and then the next year I would follow, and that was my life for 5 years. And then shortly at the end of this cycle, you enter the last phase, which is when digital nomads crave stability and crave a home. And that's when you have the exit strategy. So that's what I call the exit strategy. You leave the digital nomad and the fast pace and the travel behind. You leave some of your bases behind and you choose one. You decide to commit to one place that has the things that you need the most. And that's when you come back to where you started at the beginning, where you actually live in one place and have a more settled life.
Okay, so I have a bunch of questions based on that. First of all, I'm interested. So you mentioned that during 5 years, you went to these 5 same places every year. Which one were they, actually?
So they're still similar to the bases that I have now because it's where most of my community and life is. It's Lisbon, Barcelona, the Dominican Republic, Cape Town, and Berlin. So those are the 5 places. 3 of them are in Europe, and 1 in Central America, 1 in South Africa and the African continent. So it's that's sort of the route that I did for quite a few years, over and over.
When you go to these places, I'm guessing that you rely on maybe the same places within the cities where you stay at. Or how do you find accommodations and how do you approach this? I'm guessing that could be very exhausting to all the time have to find new places. Comes with a lot of preparation, and it's exhausting.
Yeah, decision fatigue is a real symptom. And it's something that digital nomads need to be very careful with, because you're constantly needing to decide, like where to live, where to go, what gym to subscribe to, what food to eat, where the supermarket, like there's just so many decisions to take on a regular basis, and it can become exhausting, especially when it comes to flights and accommodations. I think those are the 2 biggest sort of decision-making processes that can take the most out of you. When it comes to accommodation, it really, really helps to have local communities there. Like, when you are in the first 2 stages of the nomadic cycle, you still don't have like really strong ties to local people yet. And therefore it can become more difficult to find accommodations and to know other things about the place. You're constantly needing to learn where to go, where not to go, what experiences to book, etc. Like you're really high on that decision making graph. But then once you start entering phase 3 and having the multiple bases, that's already a moment in your digital nomad journey where you feel really connected to the places that you decide to base yourself in, meaning you have a community there, you have people that you trust, that you can, that you see over and over. And that's when these connections, these people can help you find accommodations. That's how I've always done it. Like the way that I find accommodation, it used to be back then, the first 5 years or so of my life, it used to be through Airbnbs. It used to be through, like local, Facebook groups and things like that. Now, this past 5 years is only through my network, through my people. And how I do it is literally I just post a story on Instagram. I tag as many people as I can on my stories from the place that I'm looking to find an accommodation in. They reshare the story and it just spreads out. And it's like, I always find something that suits me in like a week max. So it's a very easy process nowadays.
These people that you meet and that you rely on to find, let's say, accommodations, they must not be digital nomads either, because they should be staying at these places, I'm guessing, right?
It's a mix of digital nomads and local people. It's so hard to define what a digital nomad is because there's so many constellations of digital nomads. You can be a digital nomad when you move between two places, and spend half a year in one place, half a year in the other place. You can be a digital nomad if you move every 2 weeks from one place to the other, You can be a digital nomad if you decide to buy a house somewhere and have something stable and have your home base and yet travel sporadically to places and bring your work with you. Like no one really defines what digital nomadism is except you work and travel, So, when I reach out to my community to find accommodations, it's a mix of both digital nomads and local people. And I think that's the best solution to find the right places to stay in.
Okay. And so do you find it easy? I'm guessing so, because, that's implied by your answer, but do you find it easy to make meaningful relationships, whether it's friends or, anything else while traveling that much? Because from what you say, you seem to be traveling every 2 months, roughly, to another place. And it also means that you will not see these people for like a year before you come back.
Yeah. Relationships as digital nomads are really broken up. It's, as you just said, you get to spend a certain amount of time with them, and then you have to spend months without being, close to each other. You can maintain, obviously, phone calls and video calls to maintain the relationship alive, but it's not the same. It's never the same. It's never the same. So I personally do find it really easy to make meaningful connections. I think it's because I am an extroverted person by nature, and also because I'm a very intuitive person by nature, as I said earlier. And I rely on those two resources to be able to meet the right people. I immediately know when I meet someone. In the first 10 minutes, I already know, is this someone that I think could be a really good friend of mine or not? And that doesn't mean they're a good person or a bad person. It just means that there's either a connection or there isn't. And after 10 years of traveling, I am so fast at making these decisions. I meet someone and I know directly whether I should invest more time in getting to know that person or not. And sometimes I feel mean saying that because it's kind of like I want to give everyone an opportunity to get to know them and to ask them questions. But I think a lot of digital nomads can relate that it becomes very tiresome, when you ask always the same questions, when you get asked always the same questions. It's a very monotonous conversation. It can become. So I like to skip over that. I like to skip over any sort of fake, superficial, monotonous conversation. And I like to go deep very fast. I like to ask questions that I'm really interested in. And how are you doing? Who are you truly? Where did you grow up? What are your fears? What are your biggest dreams in life? What is the thing that scares you most? And if you were to do that with every person that you meet in your nomadic journey, you get burnt out because no human being has the capacity to hold so much information and so much depth. So you need to be really good at choosing and at knowing right away, is this someone that is worth investing in? Not because they're better or worse. Again, I repeat that because it's really important. Just because there is or there isn't a connection. And that's just nature. That's how we work as human beings, you know, like either like in a romantic relationship as well, like either there is an attraction, and that doesn't mean physical attraction necessarily. It just means there's like an energetic pull towards each other, or there isn't. And we got to also respect that.
But I think I've seen on your post that you have a boyfriend or a fiance or something like that. Yeah. Is he also a nomad?
Yes, he has also been a digital nomad for like longer than I have been. And again, it's interesting to define nomads, right? Because he left his parents' house when he was only like 13 years old, because he had a football career for him going. So he was how do you say it? He was picked. He was like how do you say, like the lure? Yeah, he was exactly. So he moved to Spain when he was 13 years old to follow his football career, and he arrived to pro essentially. And he has been traveling ever since, you know, ever since he was 13. He's been living in Spain and in different parts in Europe and different parts of Asia, and also back to South Africa, where he is from. And we travel the world together now, and it's beautiful to have this relationship with him and to explore a different side of digital nomadism, to do it with someone. I'm very excited for the journey together.
How long has it been that you guys have been traveling together?
So we've been together about like a year and a few months. So it's a relatively new relationship. But in this time, we've already like traveled together for about 5 months. So it's been quite a journey traveling with him, and we've loved it so much. We really love traveling the world together. So it's been great.
Has this relationship rekindled kind of your desire to travel, or is it the reason why you now want to settle and, you know, live this lifestyle?
Yeah, it's interesting. My desire to settle down came first. I decided to commit to Cape Town. I decided to commit to a place because of myself. I needed to feel a bit more settled and grounded, because I had just gone through a digital nomad burnout. So I remember committing to Cape Town, and around that time I also remember quitting my job and choosing to start Deeply Nomad. And right after, that's when I met Rick, and everything came together. And so I think now, you know, my life is directing me towards settling down, because I have a business, a partner, and a place that I love and gives me everything that I need. So that's a new chapter of my life.
So it feels like the right time, because everything clicks together now, and it makes sense to settle, basically. And so you've traveled to 40... I have a bunch of questions, so I'm just trying to make sense of it as something that, you know, is clear. So you've traveled through more than 40 countries. Are there any countries that you've not traveled to yet and that are still on the list that you want to hit at some point?
Oh yeah, I have so many places I want to visit. I'm a very nature person, a big nature girl. So New Zealand has been top of my list for a long, long time. I'm dying to go to New Zealand. I'm dying to go to Jordan as well. I'm dying to go to Iceland. I'm dying to go to other African countries. I have only been to South Africa and Namibia. Those have been the two African countries that I've seen. And having been more or less based in Cape Town for the last 6 years, I just want to explore the continent. And so, yeah, those are the first ones that come to mind. I've been dying to go to Sri Lanka as well. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of places that are still on my list. And that's the thing, even though you settle down and even though you say, okay, maybe the digital nomad is changing now, and I'm like entering a new chapter, traveling is always going to be part of my life, want it or not.
What made Cape Town, Barcelona, Lisbon, and Berlin different from the others? Is it because of the people? Is it because of, you know, the city, the culture? What makes you want to settle in Cape Town and not, let's say, Lisbon or Munich? I'm guessing Munich. I have the answers, but tell me more.
It was a very close call when I was thinking. So let's say when I had my digital nomad burnout, I remember knowing that I needed to make a change in my lifestyle. I remember knowing that I was ready to slow down a lot more and find a base long term. And at that point, I had my 5 bases, right? I had Barcelona, Lisbon, Cape Town, Berlin, and the Dominican Republic. And I had to choose, essentially. And I cannot tell you how difficult that choice was. Because when you have a life in all of these places, when you have a community that you love in all of these places, when you have just like a version of yourself in all of these places that you aren't ready to let go, how do you make a choice? And it really comes down to the smallest of details and also the way that you feel in a place. And even though I love Lisbon and I love Barcelona and I love Berlin and I love the Dominican Republic where I am currently for their own reasons, I feel my most authentic self when I'm in Cape Town. I feel the brightest me. I feel the happiest me. I feel the most adventurous me. And the city itself allows for that, you know, the mountains, the ocean, the community, the people, the festivals, all the outdoor activities, the culture. There's so much there, so much richness there in terms of experience and lifestyle that I just haven't been able to find anywhere else. And I also, you know, met Rick there, so it was kind of meant to be.
And so I'm guessing he's from Cape Town, because you mentioned he's from South Africa.
He's from South Africa. He's not from Cape Town, but he's from closer to Kruger Park.
Okay, in the bush.
Johannesburg.
Yeah, okay. Cape Town is the reason why we're just speaking right now, because I was there for about 2 months, and I thought you were from Cape Town, and I realized you were in Italy at this point. So then I went back to France, and now you moved back to Dominican Republic. So it's a whole mess. But I get it, because like the city is just beautiful, and honestly, I had a blast. But something I felt going there. So it was my first experience as a nomad, let's say. I took 2 months on my own, went there, because why not, basically. And so it's the same time zone as Paris, so that's very convenient. And even though I loved it, at some point I felt very lonely for reasons, because of some decision I made, which, you know, I would not make them again, but it was part of the experience to try it. And I'm guessing that traveling all the time is challenging on the, you know, mental health aspect. How is your experience on that? Have you struggled with this kind of feeling when traveling? And if so, if not, that's perfect. If so, how did you handle the situation?
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about when it comes to digital nomad mental health. It's a topic that gets not enough priority, not enough visibility, and not enough importance. And it's really sad because I think digital nomads should feel allowed to also talk about the shadows of the lifestyle and the challenges that they experience on their mental health, on their psyche, and there's many. And it's interesting because when you are a digital nomad and start talking about these challenges, oftentimes the reaction that you get from the public or from other people, it's like, oh, you're, you know, such a privileged human and there you are complaining, you know? And I don't think one thing takes away from the other. Like, I think you can be very sure about the privilege that it is to be able to travel the world as a digital nomad, and at the same time not take away from the challenges and the pain that you feel while doing that, right? Like, I don't think we have to compare, or we should be comparing one pain to the other. And whenever people do that outside of the digital nomad context, I sometimes find it difficult because it always leads to guilt. Like, whenever you compare yourself, compare your pain, compare your strengths, compare whatever it is, it always leads to a feeling of lacking and guilt. And I don't want that for anyone, you know. I want us to focus on ourselves and in that figure out what it is for you that you need. It's like, what is it that currently you're struggling with and how can you solve that? How can you be more aware of it? For myself, I have struggled with digital nomad burnout, which is something that it's a term that a lot of people overlook completely. And I can tell you that it felt really difficult to be in that space, you know, being in one of the most beautiful places in the world and having incredible people around me and me, you know, and it was summer and there was so much going on and so many people inviting me to things. And I remember just feeling like I was so drained and I didn't want to be anywhere, go anywhere. I just wanted to be by myself, lock the door and be in bed all day. And that's what I did. I slept 12 hours a day most days because I just couldn't get myself out of the apartment. I just couldn't get myself into that extrovertive energy that you need to be able to be out there. And I don't wish that on anyone, the same then I wouldn't wish anyone, to have a depression, and those are things that they are obviously they can be things that you work through the habits that you bring into your life to essentially to prevent falling into that burnout and to prevent falling into like an unhealthy mental state. And that's what we work a lot at Deeply Nomad with, like how can you create routine habits in your life, a connection to yourself, have your sort of like inner home so strong that all the unpredictability and the uncertainty and the changes in the movement and all of that chaos that is the digital nomad experience doesn't affect you, doesn't burden you. So that would be the first thoughts that I would have in regards to digital nomad mental health. Yeah.
So you mentioned Deeply Nomad, which is you coaching other people to join the lifestyle and to enjoy it and to make the most out of it. Related to how to travel, how to live with it. What is the kind of profile that you see the most that reach out to you to get into it?
So we have quite a few people that are digital nomads for about like 3 to 4 years, I would say, that have already experienced the joyful moments of being a digital nomad and are starting to see the shadows that are also part of this lifestyle. They generally are like end 20s to mid 30s, and they oftentimes struggle with either the relationships in their life or the lack of structure in their life, or they struggle with their own sense of intuition and relationship to themselves. Those are the 3 biggest pain points that they come to Deeply Nomad with. And we mainly work on getting them to really get to know themselves at a core level and get to know what their archetype is, what shadows are part of that archetype, how we can strengthen in their intuition for them to find the right people and the right opportunities in their life and go to the right places. We strengthen their ability to relate to others and to find really soul-aligned connections and to even find love, and also how to manage and navigate long-distance relationship with the people back home or across the world. We help them to understand how to travel more meaningfully and more intentionally and more sustainably, understand what travel does to them and to their psyche, and how to connect more with the places that they visit, that it's not just extraction, but actually like a reciprocity effect where they give back to the places in whatever way they want. Just develop a whole ethos around travel that is new and that is powerful and that is going to take them further and allow them to be digital nomads for longer. Because a lot of the times what happens with digital nomads is that when they ignore symptoms of burnout, they just continue pushing and pushing and pushing until at some point they just break because their entire life feels like it's falling onto them and like nothing is stable anymore. All of their safety pillars, all of the things that sustain a person upwards fall apart, and that's when they feel lost and completely unable to continue traveling. And it happens a lot more than you'd think. So we just help them to like recenter themselves essentially.
My takeaway is that kind of sounds like psychologists for nomads, basically.
Yeah, it's a combination of coaching and therapy and open, vulnerable circles where we just talk. And I would say more than anything, the focus is in coaching. So we really pride ourselves on that. And then we have lots of like experimental ways to work with their psyche and work with their shadows or their limiting beliefs to help them in their journey.
Usually, how long do you support them?
So there's so many ways that we work with digital nomads at Deeply Nomad. So obviously I do this business with my partner. He's a co-facilitator and coach at Deeply Nomad. And I love doing this work with him because it means that we're able to bring all our skills together, and all our talents together, and also divide the work in a way that makes sense, coming from different angles. Him bringing up more the masculine approach to coaching, me bringing more the feminine approach to coaching, and really just like feel into what students need in their journey. But usually our main program runs about 2 months. It's a whole like intense 8 weeks where we teach them everything that we've learned in a combined 20 years of experience traveling the world between me and my partner. And also have guest speakers on board, integration practices, and lots of like workshops. It's really interactive and dynamic. That's what we love doing, not keeping it just theory module space, but actually having fun with the program and getting to know the people and for them to get to know themselves, like each other, because it's always a group program. So we love to coach groups because they are able to serve as mirrors for each other. And what one digital nomad experiences can be reflected on the other. And so they have this sense of, oh, I'm not alone in this. Like other digital nomads feel that too. And, that's one of the most healing parts of this journey, truly. But outside of the group programs, we also offer the one-to-one sessions, which is where we get to work individually with the digital nomads that want to have a more personal journey. And outside of that, we also do workshops, which is in-person workshops. And that's also one of our favorite things to do, is to get people together in one room and just bring out their best versions.
That one of the big takeaways you talked about before was that, you should not avoid winter, and it's normal to take a few months to just rest and not being under the sun all the time and partying and everything. What would be the other biggest takeaways that you've taken out of these 12 years of experience?
That's a big question. There's a lot of incredible takeaways that I've taken from being a digital nomad. I hope that you can hear me. I'm just going to wait until the connection is back. Hello?
I could hear you, but the
video stopped. Yeah, I'm not sure what's happening. I'm sorry for that. I think it might be my internet, actually. Okay, let's go back. There's a lot of takeaways of being a digital nomad. It's so many that I don't even know what to focus on, because I think one of the biggest takeaways has just been trusting in myself and like developing myself through seeing the world and meeting other people. There's a type of confidence that comes with challenging moments and challenging experiences and confronting new places by yourself. And that confidence, I don't think anyone can take away from you. It's something that gets built inside of you, and it accompanies you wherever you go, whether it is in your career or in your relationships. Like, you're going to be able to like showcase that confidence that comes with truly knowing who you are. Oftentimes when we grow up in a specific place, surrounded by our family and friends, and we're always in this protective bubble, we never grow out of that bubble. We never actually like truly figure out who we are. And once you travel and go outside of this bubble, that's when suddenly so much information becomes real about yourself. So I think that is probably one of the biggest takeaways, like really how much your relationship to self expands when you travel. And that's why I really think that every human being, if they are able to travel the world by themselves, I always recommend that they should do at least one solo trip, without relying on anyone, on any friend or any safety pillar. Just go out and explore the world.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a very good takeaway from that. And I can say that after I've been trying that, I loved it. It was not the easiest. It was challenging at some time, but that was part of the experience. But when I was traveling, a lot of people came to me and were like, you take the plane a lot because traveling, well, I mean, you're forced to do that because you cannot go by train in Cape Town. I would like to ask you about the ethical aspect of this lifestyle, because you have to travel a lot, and sometimes you go to countries that are a bit troubled. Like, for instance, South Africa is amazing in many, many ways, but it's a troubled country for many different reasons. So what do you answer to people that ask about the ethical aspects of the lifestyle?
Yeah, it's a really, really challenging question to respond and to feel comfortable with when it comes to the pollution of the environment, taking all the flights, going to places that have difficult socioeconomical backgrounds and social challenges. I think it's two different topics of conversation. Like one is, the consumption of so many flights, and the other one is confronting or navigating or understanding the background of certain cultures and places that you travel to. For the first one, the only thing that I can say is as I said earlier, there's no manual on being a digital nomad. There's no rules around it. Like anyone with a laptop and a remote job or career can be a digital nomad, meaning if you want, you can do this lifestyle with train, with a car, like you can travel around Europe being a digital nomad. You can have a van, you can do van life. You don't need to travel to the other side of the world to be a digital nomad. You don't have to go to Asia and back to Europe every 2 months to be a digital nomad. So there are a lot of options out there for people that really want to do it in a more conscious and sustainable way. And in regards to the socio-economical background of places that you visit to, I think the most important thing is to gain awareness of where you travel to and like what the history is of a place, because it can be really challenging for digital nomads that travel to a place just for the benefits of it and the sort of like allure of it and the, the glamorous part of it without actually being aware of the hardship that was experienced in the place, or the social or cultural norms that exist in a place, So I think awareness and really wanting to learn about a place is number one. And I really would hope that every digital nomad has that drive to wanting to learn and wanting to get to know a country, not only its highlights, but actually like everything that constitutes a country, meaning also not only traveling to the highlighted spots, but also finding your own places and traveling outside of the main cities, outside of the main touristy places, so that you get a good feel of what that country is overall. South Africa is a really good example. There's a lot of digital nomads that just stay in the Cape Town bubble, and they don't ever go outside of it. And it's really sad because South Africa has some incredible people, some incredible places outside of Cape Town, and some such rich culture that people are really missing out on that, So growing that awareness, and when it comes to social political conflicts and struggles, unfortunately, a lot of that also needs to be taken care of by the government, I think. And I've asked myself many times, how much can digital nomads do together to help people in need of the countries that they visit? Imagine places like also like Indonesia, there's a lot of Balinese people that struggle economically, right? And digital nomads are out there like living their best life. And there's such a disbalance between the locals and the travelers and expats. So what can digital nomads do to help those in need? I think there really should be a project, and I'm really thinking of starting that soon, of Nomads for Good or something the like, where we come together as a community worldwide of people that care for this planet and care for the people that we meet and the cultures that we get to experience, because it's such a privilege and such a gift. And we actually put all the effort into something truly powerful for the local communities, providing help, providing resources, connecting more with them, whatever that may look like, but really just a project that is called Nomads for Good, where there's change being made and help being provided.
Thanks a lot for answering this question. It was not the easiest one, but I appreciate you taking time to answer it, because it comes up a lot in my discussion and when I talk about this lifestyle. So it's, I think, a big one. My last question to you is the question from Theo, the previous person that went on the podcast. So Theo was asking, and that's perfect because that fits with your lifestyle, what's your best, most amazing travel memory? I know it's hard because you must have hundreds of them, but if you had to pick one, which one would it be?
It's actually funny because there's this one memory that I always like to think back to, and it's by myself, without anyone. I'm in the car driving through a Swiss mountain pass during sunset, and I'm looking out of the window just thinking, what is this life? I cannot believe where I am. I cannot believe the life that I have created for myself. and I am the happiest I've ever been. So that is my favorite travel memory. And it's funny because it's without anyone, and it's just a good representation of a healthy relationship to self and how joyful one can be in even moments when you don't have anyone else around you.
And so what would be your question for the next person coming up?
I would like to ask them also in theme with the traveling and nomadic lifestyle. What does freedom truly mean to you?
And how would you answer this question?
Myself, my own question?
Yes, exactly.
Oh my gosh, I was not ready for this. What does freedom truly mean to you? What freedom truly means to me is the ability to choose. There's many ways in which one can interpret that.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So very last one. This is the end of the podcast. So my question would be, what can we wish for you in the next coming month or years?
I mean, so much coming our way. There's lots of workshops happening in Cape Town and other places in the world where me and Rick can facilitate workshops at Deeply Nomad. We are going to host a retreat in Cape Town as well this upcoming year. We're opening lots of new spots in our Deeply Nomad coachings and one-to-one offers. We are constantly developing ourselves as well and learning new things. So we can't wait to just continue the journey with our followers online. Obviously, you can follow us at Deeply Nomad, or my Instagram is also my personal brand account. That's Liz Kanzler. I'm sure that it will be down in the description of this podcast. And I've always loved to share my travels there. Maybe there's a second book coming into the world. And yeah, lots of exciting projects that I can't wait to share with my community. And so I'd love to meet every single one of your listeners that have the urge to explore more and travel and truly choose their lifestyle and their happiness. So always send me a DM, reach out. I am always excited to meet new faces.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much, Liz, for taking the time to discuss this with me. It was a pleasure. I wish you a great project coming up, because I've seen that there's a lot of them. Good luck with settling down in Cape Town. I'm a bit jealous, to be honest. And yeah, I'll see you soon, I guess.
Thank you so much for having me. It was an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
If you've enjoyed the episode, feel free to reach out to Liz or I to let us know. Leave a review or just share the episode. You'll find all the links in the description. See ya!